Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rangers Journal on today, Thursday, the 29th of January. My name is Doug, and we're here to react to our 3-1 defeat to Porto, European campaign this season that has ended with the same sort of whimper that it started. Some old habits, unfortunately, creeping back in what was a fairly average performance that ended in, as I say, a loss. But admittedly, against also, it should be said, a very good team who are doing well in the Portuguese league. Tonight to chat with me about the game, we've got Marty. How you doing, mate?
Fine, thank you. Yourself, Doug?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. And joining us again is Graham. How you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks, Doug. Evening, Marty. How you doing?
Joining us again. Evening, Graham.
How you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks, Doug.
And welcome to everybody in the comments who's joining us as well. We'll just get straight into it. As we started the game as well as we could have done, with a goal inside the first few minutes. We were pressing quite well. The ball is put out by Porto. Tavernier, really aggressive in the press, wins the ball back, knocks it out to Finlay Curtis, who had come into the team, and Curtis whips in a really beautiful ball right around the covering defender and into the box. And one of the shorter players on the pitch, Sidi Gassama, gets on to it. A little bit of hesitancy in the Porto defence, and he puts us 1-0 up. And at that point, Marty, it looked like we would potentially have a good night.
Yeah, it was a rare quick start for us, especially in Europe. We pressed the ball quite well, and to be fair, it was a decent passage of play between Tav, Curtis, and then obviously the cross to Gassama, and a well-taken header. I think it baffled the keeper and the defender. I thought they looked at each other as if to say, that's mine. And neither of them went for it in the end. So it was a well-taken goal. We've got to give the players the credit for that. It was a rare, fast start from us. So it's plaudits to the boys for actually getting off on the front foot.
Absolutely. Graham Gassama, he's been a figure of criticism for a lot of the season, but Europe does seem to be where he seems to play some of his better games, and that was, I think that's it's 4 or 5 of his 7 goals this season have come in European competition.
Yeah, took his goal well. Great ball into the box from Curtis, I have to say. Took the header very well. Looked lively in places, Gassama. He's come in for some criticism. We've probably relied on him quite a bit as well, with certain injuries to Ant-Man, probably not finding that best shape out wide. So, he seems that he's delivered for us in Europe. He's come up with some brilliant moments, but he took his goal well. Very good start, and we thought we could be in a real positive evening here. And to be fair, the first 25 minutes, we looked quite assured, we looked well organised. It's as good an opening and start to a game as we've had for a while. So, Gassama playing very well. Thought Curtis looked very sharp. Chermiti was doing well up front, holding the ball up, bringing others into play. Thought Diamonde and Raskin looked very solid in the middle of the park as well. So, a few players really contributing that first 25 minutes. Then it just started to go slightly wrong after that.
Yeah, that was it. Like you say, the first sort of 20-odd minutes were reasonably good. It was a back-and-forth game, both teams having some chances, but, we looked like we were holding our own until just before the half-hour mark. A goal by, now this is Mora, not Mura, which some people like myself might have initially been slightly confused by. By all accounts, I've heard a little bit about this lad, a young player. I think he's 19. He was absolutely top notch tonight for them. It has to be said. Can't take that away from him. And he takes them into a draw. Porto win the ball. He spins Raskin absolutely beautifully. It has to be said. Raskin is put down onto his backside, breaks forward, the ball comes out, then it's passed out to the wide position, comes in, and then it goes into sort of a scramble of a box. It looked like it had about 200 players in it, but Mora's there to knock it away. Marty, this one I kind of put down to sort of 30%. They were great. It was a great move. 30%. They got a bit lucky with a couple of ricochets and things, and 30% our defending was poor. As I say, I don't feel like this one was too harsh of a goal. They get a bit of luck when Diomande almost cuts out one of the passes. He gets his foot to the ball, although you can equally say it's a little bit lazy. And then when they do put the ball out wide and the boys breaking out of the box, I think it was Magoma that tackles him, wins the ball, but his tackle puts the ball into the box. But then I think there's about 3 players, Mora, who scores, but there's about 2 players beside him that are totally unmarked. All 3 of them right bang in the penalty box. So, as I say, for me, a little bit unlucky, a little bit bad defending, and a little bit good play by them.
Yeah, I agree with your points. I think it was overall it was relatively poor man marking more than anything. But you've got to give credit to their young guy, 19, and having the ability that he's got. And going from the commentary, his record that he's got so far for Porto, he's obviously a quality player. So it would have been hard to man mark him out of the game tonight. So it was inevitable going from our defensive record this season to have a player like that come up against us, that he was going to get a goal at some point in the game. So, yeah, I think it was relatively poor bad man marking, but you can't take it away from the guy. He took it well.
Graham, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I thought Raskin could have done a bit more in the build-up to it, if I'm honest. You're looking for him to really stick. He's the man who made it a little bit easy for him. Well-worked move. A bit of ping pong in the box. It's felt the player. He's tucked it away well. So yeah, it was a really disappointing goal to lose. Not the most disappointing goal to lose, as to be said. There was worse to come, but you're a bit frustrated when you lose a goal like that. So yeah, I felt Raskin could have done a little bit more in the build up to it to stop that play and get to his man. But it's a poor goal that we've lost. I think we were disappointed at how that one's went in.
Indeed. Following on pretty much immediately from that goal was probably the big talking point of the game, depending on which side you fall. Supporter-wise, around about 29 minutes, there's a penalty question. One side of the stadium adamant it was a penalty, and the other side quite comfortable that it wasn't. Porto get the ball, and I think it's Mora again who is on the ball and swings in a long ball in behind the defence. The type of ball that was absolutely killing us all of the first half of the season. Their winger is then runs from deep, and then it cannot be put any other way. Just absolutely smokes Tavernier for pace. You can see every ounce of Tavernier's 500 games in his legs at that moment. He gets past him. But then roaring through the middle as Manuel Fernandez, who slides in with, on replay, an absolute pinpoint perfect tackle that he gets the ball, and the movement of him sliding in does then hit the player, but he is absolutely 100% on the ball. An absolute world-class tackle. It is a tackle that, had he mistimed it in any slightest way, would have almost certainly been a penalty. But for me, as I say, he gets it absolutely perfectly. Does clip the player afterwards, but for me, it's a perfect tackle, and right not to concede the penalty there, Marty.
Yeah, I do agree with you that Tav's edges shows there a little bit. He's getting done for pace. A few years ago, he would have never got done for pace like that. But again, a great tackle from Fernandez to get the ball. And I'm honestly thankful that was a European game, because if that was a Scottish League game, I would have seen that as a penalty. It's the kind of mad decisions we'd have been getting, but it was a brilliant tackle, a last-ditch tackle from Fernandez to get to that ball to clear it.
So your thoughts on that one, Graham?
Yeah, as soon as I seen it, I thought, what a tackle it was. And actually, when you see it in the replays and slows down, it's an even better tackle when you see it slowing down. He's timed it perfectly. He's had to time it perfectly as well. He's had to get across. Tav, as we said, has been absolutely done for pace. He's getting nowhere near it. And Fernandez came across and dealt with the danger. So, brilliant tackle, well read, well executed, and he gets his captain out of a problem there.
Yep, absolutely. We then get on to their second, which is unfortunately one of two goals that are down entirely to defensive errors on our behalf. As I say, old habits creeping back into the team. This one, just on the 36th minute, is a goal scored by Moura this time, as opposed to Mora, their fullback. It's another long ball knocked in, and it looks like Tav is got it covered to begin with. The ball comes down. His touch is, maybe you could say, is perhaps a little bit loose, but he could maybe have just tried to clear it. But he at that point has won the ball. But then Butland comes out to conceivably smother it, but absolutely fails to do so. It kind of he's got his hands together, and it kind of just hits off his fingers and loops up. The two of them come together, and then Moura pounces on the loose ball and knocks it into an empty net. Not a glorious moment for either player, really. You can tell, as I was saying to the guys before the game, you can tell Tavernier thinks that Butland has indeed smothered it, because he seems to be more concerned with Butland initially, before looking up with bemusement at the ball. But again, I'll come to you, Graham, first this time. This is it's just a lack of communication, maybe. As I say, the two players just come together. A bit of hesitancy on Tav's side as well. To say just a poor goal to lose all round, really.
A terrible goal to lose. You're looking for your defender to deal with that initially. When that ball comes in, you're looking for Tavernier to deal with it. He doesn't. Communication obviously not great between the goalkeeper and the defender. But if you're a goalkeeper and your defender's not dealing with it, you're going in there to deal with it. And if you take your defender out, well, you do it, then you take your defender out. So again, Butland's not covered himself with glory. Comedy of errors. Really poor goal to lose at this level. And we've seen some crazy defending from Rangers this season. That's up there with some of the worst that we've seen. So Tav didn't deal with it. If he's not dealing with it, you've got to have your goalkeeper dealing with that. Whether you take your defender out, doesn't matter. You get that ball and you make it yours, and the pair of them failed. So really, really poor. Really poor.
Yeah, Marty, it's, as I say, for me, it really was, emblematic of the issues we were having earlier in the season, and a bit disappointing to see that creep back into the team tonight, given obviously that they'd started so well in the game.
Yeah, we thought we'd seen the last of that when Russell went and Danny was brought in, especially with the last 4, 5, 6 games, league games we've defended relatively well. I agree with Graham. As a goalkeeper, you would expect your defender to deal with that. But I think Tavernier's looked at the man more than the ball on this occasion, especially after, as we've discussed, being smoked for the previous run through at goal. So I think he was concentrating more on the player, and that's maybe what's caught him out, hence the ball bounced in front of him. And that's where he's obviously expecting Butland to come and shout for it, which is obviously not happened. And I think, given our previous goalkeepers, for example, McGregor, he would have shouted for that and he would have made it his in one way, shape or form. And I think that's a bit of naivety on Butland's part to not make sure, if you're any doubt, make sure as the goalkeeper. So as much as I would love to blame Tavernier, because I'm not a particular fan, Butland didn't make a great deal of that either. So both have got to be held accountable for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just before halftime, they unfortunately make it 3-1. This one's really basic. Just a corner comes in, and it is ultimately chalked up to be an own goal from Manny Fernandez. The ball, as I say, swung in to the sort of the near post area. One of their players is going up to get the ball. Mane's coming in from behind, and he isn't close enough really, and he's having to do that thing you see defenders sometimes do, where they're mid jump and their entire they're almost bent 90 degrees at the waist as they're trying to lean forward to get the ball, which anyone who's ever tried to header a ball knows you can't really control your header if you're in that kind of weird position. And all he succeeds in doing is his kind of heading it forward, which kind of then comes equally off the attacker's head, which in my goal I actually think it should be credited to the attacker because it hits his head. But by the by, it's put down as an own goal. We're 3-1 down, and Marty, it looks like it could be a bad night, or it looks like things could get really bad if they continue that way in the second half.
Yeah, it was again poor defending. Me personally, I don't blame Fernandes. He was not marking that player. That was a Diamonde player he was supposed to be picking up, and he didn't follow the run out because the player originally started on the goal line and ran out towards the ball, and Diamonde's not followed the run, and obviously Fernandes has been left to pick up the pieces. So I do feel a little bit for Fernandes that he was dropped in the deep end by Dio, and Dio's just looked at Fernandes as if to say, that's yours. And there's not a lot that Fernandes could do when he didn't know the player was there. So, yeah, it's lack of communication again at the back. Dio not communicating with the players around him. I kind of feel for Fernandes there. He'd had a good game to that point.
Yep, Graham, it's always tough, obviously, playing in Europe regardless. And as I said at the beginning, Porto are having an excellent season. They're a really good team, some really good players. And so it just doesn't help when we create our own problems like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We were disappointed about losing a goal from a set piece like that. Defending, you're right, Marty. Diamonde's he's not done his job right. This came off Fernandes. He's a bit unfortunate. The goalkeepers union might be out with a pitchforks from here, but I think Butland was too easily beaten there as well. You're looking for maybe a bit more commanding at his near post. So, another poor goal that we've lost. And you kind of feared the worst at that point when that third one, and you thought after having such a positive start to find ourselves 3-1 down before half time, the signs weren't looking good. So, yeah, really poor. I think they'll be really disappointed with that set piece coach. I'm sure they'll look at that and they'll work in that hopefully over the next few days, and there'll be some lessons learned from that one collectively as a group.
Yep, I think so. So went in 3-1 at half time, and nothing changed in the second half, which is really a kind of a non-event, really. Again, I think it was kind of back and forth. Porto looked like they were comfortable with the victory, a victory that they needed as well. They were comfortable with that. We tried to get back into the game, made a few changes, and I did think we had some decent moments. We did look okay for the most part. The defence seemed a little bit sure. Danny Rowe making changes, some of which I think, with a view to the game at the weekend. But none of the players that came on really sparked anything in particular. Despite coming into it a little bit nearer the end, I would say it petered out into the 3-1 to finish. All in all, Marty, how would you put this performance down overall? As I say, we're playing a good team, but with a few old frailties, and as I say, kind of ending the way it started with I think a feeling of disappointment that we haven't really represented ourselves as best as we could have done.
Yeah, I think it was a case of finish the campaign how we started it. Really, really poor first half defensively, showing our frailties again that we seem to have still not got over amazingly, apart from in the league, strangely enough. It's a European season to forget, unfortunately. Really poor first half, but I liked what I seen in the second half. There was a little bit more of an edge to the boys. They actually had a bit of fight in them in the second half, whereas in the first it was rather flat after they got that equaliser. So it was nice to see that the boys come out in the second half and at least gave it a go. They weren't just prepared to sit and defend and try and keep the score as low as possible. So at least that was a positive that came out of it. We actually gave it a go in the second half. But again, not good enough for the club that we are, and the European performances we've had over the last 4, 5, 6 years. It's just not where we should be and not where we deserve to be.
And yourself, Graham?
Yeah, we knew the campaign was over a while ago, so just had to see it through. We lost some poor goals tonight. With some positives in the game as well. I thought we competed well in that first 20-25 minutes. Lost some really poor goals, which just isn't good enough. And if you defend like that at this level, you're going to get punished. And we did. We duly did. I thought the second half we looked a lot more solid. I think Suter coming into that back line really shored us up a little bit. At the same time, probably lost a wee bit down the left-hand side. And Max Aaron's not been in his natural position. Probably lost a wee bit from McComa coming off. But, again, some players were given an opportunity tonight. Ant-Man, Miovski just didn't really deliver us, in my opinion, which is frustrating. And I think it shows a need that we need a bit of quality in that final third for this title push that we want to go on. But listen, we've got through the 90 minutes. Looks as if no injuries. We've come out of it clean. And I think everybody's attention now is on Sunday, and that's another must-win game for us. So some things we can take away positives, but we need to defend a lot better than that. And we've all said real quality opposition we played tonight. We won't play a better team than that in this title run in the league. So that's the levels we need to try and aim for. And it's on to Sunday now, but hopefully we can get another couple of additions into this squad, because the final third's where we're really, really struggling with creating chances and putting chances away. Yep. So that's where we're vulnerable, and we've learned that tonight, but I think we already knew that going into tonight.
Yep, Curry agreeing with you there. We need a number 9. I think that has been painfully obvious for quite a while. We desperately need some more clinical players up top. And obviously, Skol-Olsen, who couldn't play tonight, will hopefully help to remedy that, but a striker we need. So just to close up, Marty, sort of reflect on the season in Europe this year. To say we've been incredibly I was going to say we've been incredibly lucky, but that's not true. We've really earned over the last few years our place, I feel, as a strong Europa League side, a team that gets out of groups and goes into the competition. Obviously reaching a final in 2022. And in just every way possible, this was the complete and utter opposite of everything we have been in Europe in that period of time. That I don't think it's maybe not necessarily unfair to characterize it similar to our Champions League foray that we had in the midst of it, albeit without some of the same injury issues, but a lot of the same kind of just performances that really lacked that heart that we've shown in those games, and that sort of confidence that we can beat anyone, especially when we're at home. And that was really lacking in the first half of our European campaign. Obviously, we went 4 games without any points, all disappointing victories, and especially the first 3. They are games that when they were drawn, I was looking at and going, I'm excited by this. This could be a good, really good start. But it wasn't to be. We managed to get a single draw against Braga, and obviously the win against Ludogorets. But 6 losses out of 8 is obviously a really poor showing from us this campaign.
Yeah, totally. I mean, for me, it shows in full focus how poor the recruitment was in the summer. I mean, we obviously had a depleted squad towards the end of the European campaign there, whereas the new recruits and the players that Danny's relying on in the league aren't really the same players that are played in Europe. So it's the beginning of the end of the chapter of the 3 that got sacked, as far as I'm concerned, and it's a European campaign that we can squarely lay at their door and say, here, look, this is down to poor recruitment, and hopefully Danny can get that fixed come for next season, and we can go back to our old ways of recent, where we actually put in decent performances in Europe, because the performances we've had this season overall have been poor and not of the standard that we expect as Rangers fans and as a club overall.
Yep. Graham, I think we did see a slight improvement in sort of the second half of games. Obviously, we finally got our point against Braga. Thought we were okay against Ferencváros. The regrets was a struggle, but we get the point. As I say, tonight I thought we were up and down. We had moments. We weren't terrible in terms of the overall play, but just defensive issues and errors. Does that give us hope, for the future in terms of the campaign next year, that we will be better under Danny Rowe with by that point a team that he'll have invested in more fully in terms of players, and we'll have had another summer to effect a turnaround if Danny Rowe is still here going into potentially a Champions League campaign? Will you have more confidence that we will have improved by that point?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of rights we'll need to fix before that. I don't think the January window was ever going to be enough to fix everything from the summer and fix where we were struggling. So hopefully we can get enough in January to see us put a real charge on and very much take this league championship back to Ibrox. That should then give us a summer to further build on that. You got to remember we've got a lot of loan players, especially defensively in this squad. So a lot of these players aren't going to be here next season anyway. So there was work's going to need to be done, especially at that back line. So we'll need to look. Let's get this season done first and foremost. Let's get hopefully another couple of additions in before the deadline. And the most important thing we can think about is winning this league this year. After that, in the summer, then we can start thinking about Europe. But all the focus is really got to be on doing everything we can to win this league. The distraction of Europe is away. The European campaign's over for the year, so we just need to focus on this league run-in now, and that's the be-all and end-all. But we've got a lot of work to do, especially, like I said, with a few loan players, especially in defence. We've got huge work to get that squad right.
Yep, absolutely. As I say, we turn our attention now to domestic forays. A big match against Hibs coming at the weekend, which we will have full coverage of with pre and post matches for that as well. Just before we finish off, I'll give a shout out to our sponsor, the Bluebells Bar at Puerto del Carmen in Lanzarote. If you're down in that neck of the woods, head down there for a couple of drinks and you can have a chill. You can go to one of their party nights. Most importantly, though, you can watch the football and indeed all Rangers games there, so you don't need to miss a kick while we continue in this battle for a title. I'll not ask man of the match because there wasn't really one. It was a bit of a poor game. We'll give it to Curtis because he's young and exciting and he put in a good cross, so that'll do. Yeah, as you said, Marty, we're on to the Hibs game now. Do you want to give us a quick prediction for that before we go?
On tonight's performance or previous league performances? Previous league performances will go 2-1 Rangers.
3-1. And yourself, Graham?
Yeah, we know what we need to do league-wise. I think we'll go through Edinburgh and 2-0 win for Rangers. Back to clean sheet, much improved performance.
Yep, I dare say we will see some changes to this team. And we have fared reasonably well against Hibs. As much as the games have been difficult games, we have come out on top. So let's hope that happens again. Thanks to Marty and Graham for joining me this evening. Thanks everyone for commenting in the chat again. A disappointing season in Europe, one to just consign to the forget bin. Spend the rest of the season watching the Leipzig game on repeat. That's usually what I do. Thanks for watching. Just remember that every night is a Rangers journal night. Good night.
Every night is the Rangers journal night.